Invent yourself. And then reinvent yourself.
Your life is your life.
Don't swim in the same slough.
There is a light somewhere.
Invent yourself and then reinvent yourself.
Your life is your life.
And stay out of the clutches of mediocrity.
There is a way out.
Invent yourself and then reinvent yourself.
Go all the way.
Change your tone and shape so often that they can never categorize you.
Don't even start.
Reinvigorate yourself and accept what is,
Do it.
but only on the terms that you have invented and reinvented. Be self-taught and reinvent your life because you must.
Your life is your life.
It is your life,
You'll be alone with the gods.
and its history and the present belong only to you.
Nights with violence.
Welcome to Rebellion, Chapter 2.
Jumping over barricades, juggling with hand grenades.
That's Big Mike Elgin. Moments after Brian Cage captured the World Heavyweight Championship, Michael Elgin made his debut.
I left Japan to come to Impact Wrestling and become the world champion.
I'm out here sending everybody that steps across me to the hospital. Because as I do that, I'm clearing a path straight to the Impact World Championship.
At what cost does that World Championship mean to Michael Elgin? Oh my God! The World Champion's been broken in half!
Get out of here! This is the champion! You better get out of here or you're gonna get your ass fired!
Oh, God!
Rebellion marks 1 year since I came to Impact. Rebellion marks 1 year since I said I would be world champion.
Security and ringside personnel, referees and more, pulling apart Eddie Edwards and Michael Elgin.
See, when you talk about wrestling, you talk about greatness, you talk about world championships, well, you have to compete with greats. Eddie, I thought just for a minute you were gonna be the old Eddie Edwards, but you made every excuse in the book not to be here. Years from now, when people are looking back at champions in Impact Wrestling, well, Michael Elgin's gonna be number one. Tessa Blanchard, the world champion, finds herself stuck in Mexico. But she's an American citizen. She's not stuck. She's afraid. She belongs in the shallow end, but she tried to jump headfirst in the deep end and realized she was gonna drown. And that's fine by me, because the way I see it, Rebellion ends the same way it was always gonna end. Michael Elgin, the new Impact World Champion.
Impact Wrestling, tonight, 8/7 Central on AXS TV.
What's up, folks? And as promised, I am back to talk about Impact Wrestling's Rebellion Night 2. Here is my review for it. So, before we get started, that introductory promo, as you see in the beginning of this video, absolutely amazing. And it's amazing on so many different levels because, number one, I love the reinvent yourself message. It's powerful. And myself, being the head of the Big O Belt Wrestling Podcast, I say it all the time, it's a necessary tool and skill that every wrestler should have, because when the gimmick works for a while, at some point it loses the same energy and how the crowd and fans resonate to it, and that puts you in a situation where you happen to reinvent yourself. Also, at times too, it just maybe your gimmick just didn't work at all, and sometimes this is the time where you may have to either leave a promotion, and figure yourself out, hit the indies, whatever it may be, and come back bigger and better. And it has proven dividends for numerous people across the board. And, I spoke about it last week. There's the rare cases such as Sami Callihan who could just get a new gimmick and it just works, But some people, it's not always just that fluent. So I really love how that was the message here in the beginning of Rebellion, because a lot of the people that they highlighted were examples of the people who had to do so in order to come back as them better selves. So I truly I love that message, and I hope a lot of people, outside of it just being the introduction for Rebellion, I hope a lot of people just listen to the message and like equate it into their life scenarios. But as I wished last week, and I am, and obviously my wish has come to light again. Mazarin and Josh Matthews on commentary again. Yes. Because the two of them together is just so good, so organic. And yes, I know they're married, but nonetheless, them as a commentary team, they're really static together. When things go back to normal, when she gets back in the ring, I hope they still bring her back on commentary for some capacity, because she is such a treat, and I really do like the two of them paired up together. But anyway, this card had night 2 had it was going to have 4 matches, but that 4th match is in limbo. We'll kind of talk about it, and I'll talk you through it regardless if you've seen Rebellion or not. There was going to be spoilers. I'm breaking these matches down, and if you haven't had a chance to see Rebellion, then this might be your opportunity to want to go back and find it on AXS TV, the Fight TV network, wherever it may be. You can check Impact's Wrestling Twitter to find out where you can watch the replays of it, since it did debut today. So first off, the first match is a high-flying X Division match with Trey, Chris Bay, Rohit Raju, and Suicide, a TNA original. And it's kind of crazy that Suicide is still doing it. There's something about those nostalgia acts that just really makes you smile, But I gotta be honest, I didn't really get into this match because I felt like there was so much momentum off of night 1, especially how it ended with Chris Shamrock and Sami Callihan, that I was really hoping that this night started out with like a bang. And sure, there was a lot of energy and this was very fast paced, but like there was so many high flying spots or just spots executions that they were trying to do that just quite frankly was sloppy and ultimately slow, ultimately making them not believable. The whole, foreshadowing of something coming. There was a lot of it that just, the match just wasn't as crisp as it needed to be. So it wasn't a bad match. It's just, I just don't think it was the match to really set the tone off of all the energy and momentum that night 1 had. So, but Chris Bay, like I'm very excited to see him being inserted into the X Division title championship picture. I don't know how that division is going to go as far as the top people, because you got so much going on. But I love to know that his name is going to be one of the names inserted in that picture. And I can't wait to see some of the matches that comes from out of it. The next match, match 2, was Joseph P. Ryan versus Cousin Jay. The Cancer Cultures versus the Dingers, excuse me. So first off, the cancel culture, love-hate relationship with that term. But nonetheless, this was a very entertaining and solid wrestling match. Now, I know people like to get on Joey Ryan about his other gimmick and about his lack of wrestling and whatever it may be. Whatever. The guy can wrestle, and this was a pure example of his wrestling talent. And overall, this was just a good, solid wrestling match. Thought the ending was flat, but nonetheless, everything, and I mean, this match didn't stay in the ring. It went all over went in and outside the ring, really risking their bodies in all capacities, much like people say Joey Ryan doesn't do. And sure, he works a safe gimmick with his other gimmick, but nonetheless, he's showing you exactly why he was one of the hottest free agents out there, because the guy he's just pure talent nonetheless. Like I said, this was just a really quality, solid display of wrestling between the two of them. Now, match 3 was the match that I was looking forward to upon knowing the match card for the night. And it did not disappoint. The Demon Assassin Rosemary versus the Kaiju Queen in Havok in a full Metal Mayhem match. Now, these two have so much history together. And they're, quite frankly, two of the best in all of professional wrestling doing. They have two of the best gimmicks. And nonetheless, just, you know, their history together, just their history within wrestling, period. You know, the fact that the roles had to, with them two having to collide in this matter, you knew this was going to be crazy. Not to mention the promos before this match really had me locked in. I mean, what could you expect with gimmicks like that? You knew that the promo worked. The vignette package was just going to be amazing. There was not even a question about it. But nonetheless, I just think that, you know, immediately when this match started, seeing their gear, their entrance music, and then even how they had Rosemary voice modified, just gave me all the chills. It was, everything was built for this match to succeed. And as soon as the bell rung, it went all off rails. It was complete chaos. It was weapons, pains, just violence everywhere. It started off quick with a beating. Nonetheless, as crazy as this match was, it just got crazier as soon as the chain was taken out and wrapped around the necks and people were dragged around the ring. This was just absolutely crazy. And I gotta say, the finish of this match, when Rosemary swung that lead pipe, I jumped. I was like, holy hell, that was brutal. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about that. That swing was, she might need to be in the next home run derby, because that swing was crisp and it landed in spot, and wow. And if you could take Havok off her feet, I mean, that says a lot. But wow, was that an entertaining match. The two of them are two of my favorite, and I super love the build and everything for this match. Nonetheless, you know, wow, I had as much interest in watching this match. It looks like there's a new knockout, Navia, who also has some interest in this as well. Now, the one key thing I want to say really quick is that I really love that Josh Matthews had no clue who she was and did not even pretend to act like he knew who she was. That's key to me, because I really do. I feel like in wrestling, nothing gets under my skin when it's like, wait, who's that? Oh, it's blah, blah, blah. And everyone knows who it is. And it's just like, the selling factor doesn't really get over when like everyone's like, wait, who's that? And then they're like, oh, yeah, we all know who that is. Like, I really love the fact that Josh Matthews played to the fact of like, I didn't know who this is. And it does bring the mystique of why a certain person is now in the arena, on the roster and everything. So like, really tremendous job with this match all around. So the match and the final match of the night, well, which was going to be the final match of the night, was going to be for the Impact World Championship with Michael Elgin, Tessa Blanchard, and Eddie Edwards. So before we talk about the match, first off, it's kind of interesting that this is Michael Elgin's 1 year anniversary. He debuted last year at Rebellion 2019. But let's talk about that promo from last week of his.
I'm Gia Miller, and joining me is Michael Elgin. Michael, considering the current situation with the Impact World Championship, are you concerned about having to change your approach?
You don't look familiar. I don't know you. And clearly with that question, you don't know me. So let me give you a crash course of Michael Elgin. See, at the age of 14, I first stepped foot in a wrestling ring, and I was a prodigy. I worked my way up through Canada. I came into the United States, where I found myself in Ring of Honor, where the best were wrestling at the time, and I was better. I found myself World Champion, but that wasn't enough. See, Michael Elgin needs more. He needs all the lights. He needs all the glory. He needs all the accolades. So I went to New Japan Pro Wrestling, where I had the first ever ladder match and beat a best bout machine for the Intercontinental Championship. But this still wasn't good enough. See, when you talk about wrestling, you talk about greatness, you talk about world championships, well, you have to compete with greats. You have to hold a championship that greats have held. So I come to Impact Wrestling, the Impact World Championship, a championship that men like AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle, and Chris Sabin have held. And heck, the list goes long, but for years from now, when people are looking back at champions in Impact Wrestling? Well, Michael Elgin's going to be number 1. So, Tessa Blanchard, the world champion, finds herself stuck in Mexico. But she's an American citizen. She's not stuck. She's afraid. She belongs in the shallow end, but she tried to jump headfirst in the deep end and realized she was going to drown. And Eddie, I thought just for a minute you were going to be the old Eddie Edwards, but you made every excuse in the book not to be here. And that's fine by me, because the way I see it, Rebellion ends the same way it was always going to end. Michael Elgin, the new Impact World Champion.
Now, I said it last week, and you guys didn't get to see it then, but now you've seen it, and now you've just seen it again. What a hell of a promo by Michael Elgin. Holy hell. I was buying everything he was selling in that promo. But yeah, so with Tessa stuck in Mexico and Eddie Edwards stuck in Boston, that really does leave Michael Elgin in full gear with no opponent. So, Mike being Big Mike, the Big Mike he is, he says, fine, I'm going to leave out tonight as the champion. So what he does, he forces the ref to get in the ring. He forces the ring announcer to get in the ring. And he is going to force them to announce him to be the winner of the match by disqualification or whatever it may be. It doesn't even matter, because before they even get a chance to do so, the lights go off and here comes the intrigue, the mystique. Who will it be? And nonetheless, it is my man, Moose. And first of all, Moose gear is amazing. Moose music is amazing. I'm a big Moose fan. There's no line about that. Moose, a DMV boy. I'm a DMV boy. Gotta give it up to my man, Moose. But what's really interesting is that Moose comes out with the TNA Heavyweight Championship. What is going on here? So the last time we seen that championship was obviously on the TNA little special that they had a few weeks ago. And we would thought it would have just went somewhere after that, but it's back and it's around Moose's waist. And it looks hella good around Moose's waist, matter of fact. And man, it's really interesting. Well, I'll talk about it in a second with Moose. But, with the two of them staring at each other across in the ring, I am ready for this house fight to happen. I don't care how this needs to happen and what it needs to happen for, but them looking across from each other, I'm buying it. And man, the segment before the match actually gets started, talk about mic skills on both ends here. They were letting each other have it. So I'm buying this little impromptu match that's going to go about. But even before that match could even get started, another TNA original, Hernandez, inserts himself into the action, turning this into a triple threat. And that's just one more huge body in this match. And now it's nothing but hard-hitting mammoths in all corners. So it's crazy. But look, here's the thing. With Moose winning this match, what's to come with the TNA Championship, as him being the TNA champion now, as he asks for them to announce him himself, how does that come into factor? And is he in next line for Tessa? Oh my God, because if it is, poor Tessa, because she does not stand a chance against Moose. But, where does this go from here? Does he, you have two champions now, sort of say. You still have that original match that was supposed to happen. I would have guessed that still moves forward. I just don't know. There's a lot in the championship picture now here in Impact moving forward, and this is curious to see how this all plays out. Now, before we end for the night, a couple of key other things I want to talk about really quick. Again, I love how the commentary really was referencing people's backgrounds and accomplishments, no matter what promotion they worked in and no matter who their opponent was. Across the board, if you, as a wrestler, they annotated your background, no matter if you was an Impact, TNA, ROH, New Japan. They listed your accolades and who your opponents were, whatever it may have been, despite where these people are now and so on. So I thought that was really cool because, quote unquote, that's kind of like an unforbidden rule to really talk about other promotions, but Impact is just, they're telling you the history. So I really did like that. And much like I was going to say about Moose earlier, I cannot believe he's never held a singles championship in his career. I mean, unless you consider the Impact Grand Championship, which I know a lot of us don't, including myself, it kind of hurts me to think like, wow, But man, did the TNA Championship look good around his waist. And I would love to see him be able to go one-on-one with Tessa Blanchard to unify, dual champion. What is it going to be? Who knows? That's going to be so interesting. But I have to say, overall, night 2 was a more pure wrestling night. And though I enjoyed that, though, night 1, just overall for the stakes of what Rebellion is, was just much, much higher, much more entertaining on all platforms. And it really worked towards the idea of, not having a crowd and they just tried different things here where this felt like more of a traditional style of Impact pay-per-view. Nonetheless, it was good, but when you think about Rebellion, you're thinking there's going to be a lot. They're going to up the ante on everything, but I do understand because of the cards that are the card that they are able to play here. This is the best they were able to do, and that is good enough for me. So I did enjoy that. But let me know what you think about Rebellion. Hopefully you got to watch night 1 and night 2. By all means, definitely come back in the comments and let me know what you think. And until the next Impact pay-per-view, stay locked, because I'll be back.